Voting is how we participate in a civic society, be it for president, be it for a municipal council election. It's the way we teach our children in school elections how to be citizens and the importance of their voice. Good evening and welcome. This is Face the Nation. We are just 1 month away for the all-important presidential elections in Sri Lanka. Henceforth, our topic automatically becomes Vote for Elections 2024. Joining us this evening on the show are Anuradha Vimalratna, representing the Samagga Jana Balawegaya, Professor Anil Jayantha, Executive Committee Member of the NPP, National People's Power, Chris Balthazar, representing the Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna, Bharat Arulsamy, Vice President of the Ceylon Workers' Congress, as well as Dr. Kalpa Rajapaksa, representative of the People's Struggle Alliance. To pose questions from our panelists this evening, on to my immediate right is Niresh Thambi. On to my immediate left is Nadim Majid. Niresh is our consultant director at Newsfirst. You two can join in as far as the conversation is concerned. Send in your messages via WhatsApp only. The number is 076 656 5353. The number once again, 076 656 5353. Our topic of discussion today is Road to Elections 2024. Let's get the ball rolling today with Anuradha Vimalratna, representing the Samagga Jana Balawegaya. Anuradha, what are your thoughts on crossovers?
First and foremost, thanks for having me here. It's great to be here at Face the Nation. Well, I think I share the sentiment of the whole country when it comes to crossovers. But, like we see that happening a lot these days. There are positives and negatives, I think, in it. And I think at the end of the day, it depends on the reason that you are crossing over for. Sometimes, like it's for the benefit of the people, and sometimes it's for the benefit of themselves. So,
I'm sorry, I don't understand. When you say benefit of the people and benefit for themselves, what does that really mean?
Well, sometimes people actually cross over on principle, and we see that happening. And sometimes people seems to be having personal reasons. It may be financial, or like it could be court cases, or it could be their hope for another term in parliament, or just to retain power. It could be any of those reasons. So it's very grey as I see it, but as a principle, I think I don't agree with it. So
okay, so you say, Anuradha, that you don't agree with crossovers. Is that the same sentiment of your party as well?
Yeah, it is. I think like most other parties, like we want to put a stop to it at the end of the day. And most the thing, it's happening in my party as well, right? There are people crossing into SJB, crossing out, like let's forget about that part. That will be just me complaining. But crossing in, I think it's more than crossing in. I think like we are forming alliances with other parties and other groups. But we are actually seeing some parliamentarians actually crossing in on principles, depending on their principles. We saw one member crossing in today, right? And he was saying, it's according to his conscience that he's doing it.
So why is it cherry picking when it comes to crossovers? When people are walking out of your party, it's something very grey to you all. But when someone is crossing into your party, then it's on principle. Why is that?
Well, I think we should leave that to the public to decide. There is no point, because I'm biased, right, towards my party. I think the public should actually make that decision. And most of the time, like when you are moving from a position of power to, like to the opposition, like that doesn't really make sense to do it for a benefit, right? But, like it could be anything. But I think we should leave it up to the people and they can decide come next election.
Right. So, Anuradha, given the fact we are talking about crossovers with you in our opening round, I want to drag your attention to the statement that was made by Samagga Jana Balawegaya, Member of Parliament, Thalutha Korala, who resigned from her parliamentary seat today. She says that members of the Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna, who were previously branded as corrupt, have now joined hands with the Samagga Jana Balawegaya and as principle, she decided to resign from her post based on this. And then she goes on to say, if Sajid Premadasa remained patient for another 5 years for the sake of his own political future, we would not have faced this challenge. I tell Sajid Premadasa that those pushing you towards this abyss only want to enter parliament next time. They don't want to make you president. Who are these corrupt, branded people who have joined the SJB?
I think that is a question that you should actually direct to the Honourable Taltatu Korala, because I don't really see anyone as such, because obviously Dayasiri is not a crook, GLP is not a crook, Dallas Peruma doesn't have that kind of allegations, Sudarshani Fernando Pulle, I don't know who she is referring to, but and on her other statement, like if you can point out, like a certain person, I'm sure, there is one or two, but, again, people can decide come next general election whether those people should be in parliament or not. But this is an election that we are going to be picking the president,
right? So
not the parliament.
So you agree that there are one or two corrupt individuals within the SJB at present?
There are, yeah, maybe a few, but
So
like not. I have to be direct. Maybe not like
If there is a case, Anuradha, Thalata Athukoral's statement makes a lot of sense.
Well, people should look at the other parties as well, right? For example.
No, let's talk about the other parties later on. Let's
Okay.
talk about the SJB now and focus in our opening round on the SJB itself. So, does that mean that there are corrupt people within the SJB at the moment?
Well,
And if so, it's very clear Thalata Athukoral's decision to resign from her parliamentary seat. Probably she's going to join Ranil Wickremesinghe tomorrow, but she's resigning from her parliamentary seat and doing that, which makes a lot of sense.
well, I will not say that like everyone in our party is allegation free. That would be a lie, right? But I think Thalata Athukorala might have had other reasons to resign, because the second part of her statement doesn't really make sense, right? Because she was one of the first people to actually propose Mr. Sajid Premadasa to be the party leader, and there was a huge problem at that time, because they were part of that gang of 8 that tried to make a change, and I really don't want to go further on that, except
Right, but very quickly,
leave a statement.
Right.
Sometimes the aristocrats act in weird ways, when their power is being diminished, and, when they are losing power or hold that they have in their own areas.
Right. So, Anuradha, you say that you are confirming and that you wouldn't want to say that individuals within the SJB are allegation free. Tell us a little bit about these people.
No, I don't know. I can't say 100%. I'm not going to point fingers at anyone.
But you said that people in the SJB are not allegation free. Does that means that you have something in mind and you have something under your sleeves? Tell the public today who is watching the show, who are these people who are riddled with allegations?
No. I am not pointing fingers at anyone. But I don't think
Right,
we have
so
anyone who is convicted of anything.
Right, leaving that aside, let's say, let me rephrase that question again to you in this way. Anuradha, if there are people who are corrupt in your camp,
Not corrupt, with allegations. Yeah.
Why should people elect your president as the next president of the country?
Because this has nothing to do with our candidate, Sajid Premadasa. He is allegation free, right? And he has always, act on the benefit of the people. I think the people should look at the merit of the candidate. And people inside the party, come next election, they can make a decision.
But
and, I hope that they do.
On this very show, Anuradha, time and time again, we've had economists, we have political analysts, and they've said with one voice, this time's presidential election is about the team that they have. And if you are saying here on the show tonight, in your opening statement, that there are people riddled with allegations in your party, I really don't know why the people should decide on voting Sajid Premadasa as the 9th executive president of Sri Lanka.
There are people riddled with allegations in every party, right? But compared to all those parties, I think we might be the party that has the least number of them. Because it's just, there is a bad apple in every bucket, right? And we just need to, pick them out or trust the track record of the person that you are voting for, and trust that he will do it, because there are parties that says that they are going to end corruption 100%, right? And there are corrupt individuals in that party as well.
Thanks a lot, Anurag Vimaratna, representing the SJB. I have an opinion with regard to what you said, but today is not my time to express opinions, so I leave it at leave that for the moment. We now cross over to Professor Anil Jayanta, Executive Committee member of the NPP. Professor, it has been a daunting task to get you on the show since February after you visited India. What really happened in India when you went with your leader?
Okay, it's a long story, but I'll just make it very short. We had discussions, like if I just categorize them, some discussions we were with political leaders, and some discussions were with industry experts, so likewise. Basically, from our side also, we wanted to clear off certain things, and from their side also they wanted to clear off certain things. Actually, our main objective was to have this visit, was to see new ways of collaborations and cooperations to bring about a kind of economic benefits. For instance, we had a discussion with Confederation of Indian Industries, where we discussed in detail about the trade agreements and other things. So we came to know that almost 76% of our the entitled items list are exported, but only the 10% of the items from India are imported, right? So, however, so this the mechanism had created a huge trade gap, deficit trade gap. So actually, if we go ahead with very clear objectives and open-minded, transparent way, there are plenty of opportunities to have a good trade relationship. Because apart from the other issues that we have to take the country out of this particular abyss, so one of the areas is this external sector. External sector has to be built with adequate foreign reserves. So as of now, the reserves had been built through excessive borrowings and not with the robust the foreign exchange earnings. So that is the economic side. And from political side, in fact, India just wanted to clarify from us what our foreign policy is. So mainly they had a kind of skepticism about whether we would really join hands with or more tending towards China, because they didn't like it. So they asked, most of the cases when we met Indian politicians, so they asked that question. So very clearly we told them that we don't have any role to play in the geopolitics or international politics. Being a small country, our role is to see how best our economy can be revived, so that we explain them that our foreign policy is basically to continue with collaborations and cooperations with any country that we like. At the same time, we don't take any decisions or any kind of allies that would really create unnecessary threats in the region.
So, Professor, what is the position of the NPP with regard to the Adani agreements that has been signed already, with regard to the discussions you all had with regard to the dairy farming industry in Sri Lanka being somewhat privatized? So there's a lot of talk about all this. But tell us a little bit about the position of the NPP, because we don't really understand where you are coming from in terms of your policies on these aspects.
Yeah, so first of all, like our policy is not to sell off any of our assets, which our NPP government can manage. But of course, at the same time, as I just told you, there are avenues, the ways of just continuing with the collaborations as far as Adani and even Amul, right? the way these things are happening as of now, so completely unsolicited, and it's not the way that our country would get benefits. So we have told them, even the meeting with Amul, we clearly told them that, so what is your motive, why you were interested in coming in, and what was the real reason to acquire lands. So the simple answer they gave, no, we did not request for any land. That was the package that came along with that. So there are lots of fishy things there in this agreement. So we have not earmarked certain things that should be done in that way, this way, but we are ready to continue with certain collaborative the foreign investments, so with a transparent manner. But it doesn't mean that we are going to just favor Adani or any other.
Right. Professor, one of the most confusing, aspects of this election campaign is looking at the policy statements that have been delivered by respective candidates of the NPP over the last few months. Tell me, are you all left, right? What are you all? No one knows, because sometimes now you're saying y'all are okay to look at all this progressively about privatization and joining hands and not selling state assets. I just don't understand. Why is it so confusing to understand the policy of the NPP?
It is not confused because there are no hard and fast rule that you are left, right, and you can't continue with foreign collaboration.
So JVP is far left.
No. So that is your interpretation. So what do you mean by far left?
Yeah. So JVP has always been.
What do you expect for a far left party to do?
Yeah, so we all know that.
No, so that is your perception, your ideological thinking and your epistemological perception.
Okay.
So far left, does it mean that the JVP cannot have collaboration ties with other countries? No.
So has it changed? That's what I'm asking you.
Actually, yes, certainly. As far as the JVP is concerned, because they have their own political ideology. Of course, in reaching to that, from time to time, of course, you need to change your strategies. It doesn't mean that they have changed their stance, because they want to have a better society, good society, so where everyone can live in harmony, in peace, so happily. So that is the objective. Right. So how best we reach there? Right. So from time to time.
So Professor Anil Jayanta, if you look at the meetings that you all had with the Indian parties,
Indian parties, actually, we met the foreign minister.
Yeah, foreign minister and top officials of the Indian government, right?
Yeah, and the Gujarat chief minister and so on and so forth. Chief minister, Kerala.
Yeah, so you met.
Even Kerala chief minister, so basically from communist.
So you have met some very powerful ministers in the Indian camp.
Yes.
Did they speak about the 88, 89 issues that cropped up in Sri Lanka? Were they in some way skeptic, if you all come into power, that there'll be a slide back to what we experienced during the 88, 89
No, era? In fact, none of these people asked about the 88.
They didn't ask?
No, they didn't ask about, but they ask about, even this power the devolution and all the things, so they did not ask. So mainly, their main concern was our foreign policy.
Right. So for those who are concerned about what happened during 88 and 89 in Sri Lanka, do you want to respond to them?
Yeah, actually, so this comes, really pops up from time to time. Actually, so it's a very long story and complex, so 88, 89. But it did not happen in 88, 89. So it has even history before that. In fact, the way in which JVP reacted to the government suppression and atrocities really released by the government. So certain things had been there, but who created that particular situation? So cannot be simply explained or just decided by exchanging a few words, because it has to have a very robust, comprehensive examination. Maybe a truth commission may be needed.
So probably when you all are elected to power, hopefully, hypothetically, you all can probably appoint a truth and reconciliation commission.
Of course, we have proposed. Yeah, we have not only with respect to those things, but with respect to other violences and.
The problem is when looking at what happened in Bangladesh. Right after this recent incidents, people are very fearful that we might slide back to that again. So
so anybody can relate anything in the world to anything, but as far as you need to look at our practices, so that is, I just told you, very historical incidents, 88, 89. It is not our own wish and something that we have created on our own. It was the prevailing context by that time where the party reacted. So after that, just imagine, so from 88, 89 until now, so it had been so many tense situation in the country, violent situation in the country, even the release of the government terror. So many occasions, so not in the country, just directly against the JVP as well. Actually, now we are in PP, but can you find a single evidence that we have reacted in a violent way? So that is the reason why, because these people, our enemies, can always link these things and saying that create fear mongering can be created. Just 1 minute. This is the reason, very best reason. Now other parties cannot compare or just argue with our policies or to take up these things. So as a result,
quickly,
1 minute, just a minute. So this is the reason why our leader, Andro Disanayake, specifically made a very clear statement saying that we give 100% assurance that so after we will be elected, so there will not be a single harm to anybody in this
Professor,
country.
very quickly, Professor, if you don't mind, please, because we're talking about this Bangladesh incident. I just want to go back a few years to the Aragalaya movement that was held. And do you remember the statement that was made by Lalkanta and Suin Handuneti for people to converge near the parliament?
No, of course, I remember the statement. But it doesn't mean that we really wanted to storm this. Because
you all want to protect the parliament?
No, yeah. The thing is that there are certain things in politics, right? It doesn't mean that the Aragalaya, we only just took part in Aragalaya. It was a real general people's uprising. So the countries, the world, so many things may happen. Sometimes you can't predict. So in the Bangladesh things, so we need to see how it happens. So likewise, the Aragalaya was something by that time, so just due to all sort of bad things this government did, so the people came at finally because they could not really have a better life, they were really suppressed to great extent. At that point in time, actually we wanted to chase these crooks and bad rulers and have a kind of
your intention was not to storm parliament, but to protect it.
No, it is, it could be interpreted this way. It is not to storm, but to just keep on the pressure and asking the government to step down.
Thank you very much.
So it is not really protecting a parliament or just storming. So pressurizing the government to step down, because that is the reason, because just see, take this Ranil Wickremesinghe. He doesn't have a mandate. So his duty was to create an environment to have a fair election, to ask the general public to give the mandate, like in the case of Bangladesh, even though that is too bad. Now it is happening. So there may be negative consequences. That was the reason.
Thanks, Professor. Thank you very much. Again, let the people decide. They're watching the show tonight with regard to the comments and opinions that you all are making. Let them be the final judge on the 21st of September 2024. Chris Balthazar, Sri Lanka Pojana Peramuna. Chris, how many members are now left with the SLPP apart from you and Milinda Rajapaksa?
Well, as for the parliament, first of all, Shamir, thank you for having me on your show today.
Nice to have you as well, Chris.
I know, it's been a pleasure. So first of all, Shamir, I know, this was a pretext conversation that we had prior to the show that we joked about it, about Milinda Rajapaksa and me. But no, there are frontier politicians who are...
How many are there with you?
I can't be on number sake, but there's enough. Today we launched our inaugural meeting in Anuradhapura, which you saw the crowds. It was broadcast on your channel as well, on news. You saw how successful that meeting was.
So, Chris, just let's look at the numbers for this show's sake. When you all supported the candidature of Ranil Wickremesinghe at the presidential appointing election in Parliament just a couple of years ago, you all had 134 members supporting his candidature.
We had a two-third parliament.
You all had a two-third parliament. So now you must be, now 100 people have now joined hands.
It's irrespective. I know where you're coming from.
No, wait, let me ask the question so people would be able to understand better. So it's very clear by the statement that was made by Premanath Sidulawat a couple of weeks ago that 100 members of the SLPP have now crossed over with Ranil Wickremesinghe to support his candidature. So if you look at numbers per se, then you all are only left with around 34. So is it safe to say that you all only have 34 members now, parliamentarians with your political
Shamir,
party?
it can be maybe even 10 of us. But don't forget this. In 2015, there was only 52 or 48 of us. Okay. But the name Mahinda Rajapaksa is a brand. Okay. It's the Mahinda Chintanaya, which took over this country from 2005 to 2015, is what developed this country. All those people who have gone to other parties, on their poster, on their manifest, on everything, they had the picture of Mahinda Rajapaksa on the side of that. Why is that? Because it's not their personal vote. It's the gratitude that the people gave for Mahinda Rajapaksa. You know, from 1948, Shamir, until 1972, this country, that's where Bharat's party also starts, the CWC starts, because of the Tamils as to how the Indian Tamils were treated at that time, Bharat, if I'm right. So then comes the different stages of political chaos, like we saw with what you just spoke about, with the JVP insurrection and the damages that they took. But from 2005 to 2015, this country has seen development, progressive development, an end of a 30-year-old war, which you and I all were fearful of going. So
Chris, can we safely
irrespective of the numbers,
can we safely say that 2019, Gotabaya Rajapaksa received 6.9 million votes?
Yes.
Are you trying to say that all the 6.9 million votes that was gained by Gotabaya Rajapaksa at the last presidential election is that of Mahinda Rajapaksa's?
Majority of it is.
How much?
Majority.
How much?
I'd say 70% of it is.
So 70%.
I don't mean to undermine what our political stance is, because you know we.
But you're saying 70%, right?
Yeah.
Right. So if you're saying 70%,
because prior to Gotabaya Rajapaksa in 2018, prior to that, we also whitewashed the local government.
Chris, let's talk about the presidential election, so it's easier for us to compare. So are you trying to say, Chris, that the 70% of the people who voted for Gotabaya Rajapaksa in 2019 made a mistake, and as a result of that, 2022 Sri Lanka was bankrupt?
Sorry, people made a mistake?
People made a mistake by voting in Gotabaya Rajapaksa. 70% of the people who you are saying voted in Gotabaya Rajapaksa in 2019.
Okay.
And they made a big mistake. And as a result of that, Sri Lanka was bankrupt in 2022.
Shamir, the bankruptcy for Sri Lanka, it did not take place from 2019 to 22. Okay, in 2015, when Mahinda Rajapaksa left the economy, it was a growing economy that we had. Okay, when he came back, when we took back it in power, I have the numbers, I can give it to you, but you know, to cut short on time, but I'm saying when we took back power, we had nothing left. Okay, Sri Lanka.
Fertilizer, is it Mahinda Rajapaksa or Maithripala Sirisena?
No, fertilizer banning, yes.
Who did it?
We did.
Who did it?
Shamir, I have to say, as the SLPP,
who did it?
As the SLPP, we have admitted that we have made flaws in our governance.
Does that mean that 70% of the people who voted in the Gotabaya Rajapaksa administration made a mistake?
Not necessarily.
Right. So out of this 70%, how much is a block vote for Namal Rajapaksa at the upcoming elections?
I'd say it's more than 3.5 million at the stance we are.
So if you're saying 3.5 million, Chris, why are you even contesting? Because you all have lost the election already. Because in Sri Lanka, if you look at it, at least you have to gain 7 million out of the eligible votes that are casted in the country to become the president of the country. So you all have accepted
7 million. The highest was 6.9 million.
No, 7 million at this election, because there are 17.1 million people who are going in for votes. Let's say 80% of the people who go and cast their votes, Chris,
Shamir,
then it becomes 14 million.
If you're coming that way,
right? Then no, I'm just putting numbers in
NPP had 480,000 votes at the last presidential election.
That's what I'm asking you. No, I'll ask NPP that later. I'm asking about
if that's the case, and we had 6.9 million.
Right. No, so are you saying 3.5 million?
Has somewhere where he can say, because he had 5.4 million.
Yeah, so does that mean that Sajid Premdas is going to win the elections and Namal is going to lose the election?
It's not that we would have lost a little bit of pace on time.
But Chris,
But
it seems that you all have lost.
the-
You all are having a very.
That's why
very,
we're going for an election, Shamir.
Backseat
Shamir,
attitude
we
towards
are contesting an
presidential
election.
elections.
It's not a backseat candidacy at all. We are contesting it. Don't forget that our candidate came in at the last moment. He took the sacrifice
He was
on
the guinea pig. Is it?
Huh?
He was the guinea pig.
He is not the guinea pig.
Then you said
He was
last moment
he's young. That's what the country wanted. He's brave. He's brave enough to take up the task.
Rajapaksa was the candidate right throughout.
Not necessarily.
Then
We
who
kept
was?
the options open.
You all kept the options
We
open.
kept the options open.
So why did Dhammika Perera issue a letter then saying that he's
Because
backing out
there
of
was
the
many
presidential
options,
race?
Shamir. We had our options open. Dhammika Perera at the last moment decided to send a letter. The
You all
others,
can't find
there
anyone.
are
You all can't find
other
anyone,
candidates who are
Chris.
contesting at the
Chris,
moment.
you all can't find anyone apart from a Rajapaksa to contest an election in the country.
That's what the people wanted.
They want Rajapaksa.
That was what the Central Committee
But
wanted.
don't you think in 2022, the very people wanted the Rajapaksas out of the country? Look at how Gotabaya Rajapaksa left the country.
He
Look
left
at how
in a
Mahinda
peaceful manner. He left in a very peaceful manner because he did not want to fire a bullet. He did not want to fire a bullet at the time of when there was civil unrest. He did not want to sacrifice the lives of the innocent people. He did not want to put the forces in trouble. That man took that brave act and he walked out. But that does not mean, our houses were burned, Shamir. Okay? There was parliamentarians that were killed in broad daylight. You all reported all of this. Okay? And that does not mean that we stepped back. We still remained. We stood with our people. And up to date, we still do stick with our people. Okay? There are instances that there has been mockery and lies that has been built up in this political agenda. In this political scenario at this current moment, which people may fall prey to. But now the truth is gradually coming out, and I believe that my candidate, the candidate I am backing up, who I've known since I was a child, is going to come out very strong and win this election.
But Chris, you said that you've known this candidate from his childhood. Am I right?
Yeah.
Right. Chris, looking at the candidate, so how long have you been knowing Namal Rajapaksa?
30 years.
30 years. From the 30 years, Chris, when he started off school with you, at your same school, I believe, and to where he's standing now in terms of his wealth, what do you think about that?
What can you define about his wealth?
No, I'm asking you how he started off and where he's now.
He's always been the same Namal Rajapaksa. What about his wealth? There's assumptions made that he had 18 Lamborghinis bought, that he had golden horses bought. Where are they? There was a presidential commission. There was at Temple Trees, there was a fixed office under a certain party who's also present here, who named a secretary on the commission. There was media briefings that bought out 400 files. Where was these allegations taken forward to?
Thanks, Chris. Thank you very much for your thoughts in the first round. I now move my attention to Bharat Al-Waslami, Vice President of the Ceylon Workers' Congress. Bharat, now, 2 weeks ago when you came on the show, when I asked you whether you all support the candidature of Ranil Wickremesinghe at the elections, you said you all have not made a decision. But just a couple of days ago, your Central Committee met, the Politburo met, and you all decided to support the candidature of Ranil Wickremesinghe at the elections. Am I right?
Yes.
Right. So, what is the position of the CWC with regard to the Gazette notification that was issued on the 1,700 rupees that was granted for the estate workers in the country? These all a lie, no, Bharat? There is a Gazette, but this is not 1,700, this is 1,350. And from the 1,350, you have to pluck at least 20 kilos of tea to get this 1,350, and the remaining 350 comes at a productivity incentive. So all what you all demanded for, all what you all fought for at several plantation companies, all that was just a mere lie. Even now.
Shamir, thank you for having me here.
Nice to have you after 2 weeks.
And it is, as you, let me touch on the first point about our decision to support
Okay.
President Wickremesinghe. Actually, as a democratic party, even though, as I told you earlier, even though we individually we may have our preferences, but as a party, we decided last Saturday that collectively to support the President Ranil Wickremesinghe as the presidential candidate.
So, Bharat, I want to interrupt you there. When you say individually you all have preferences, does that mean that you all you supported someone else?
No. I mean, as a party, there are members had a lot of their thoughts.
Okay. So was it an anonymous decision or was it a split decision?
Then after many discussion, it's an anonymous decision to support President Ranil Wickremesinghe.
Right. Yeah. So that's okay. We know that. That's happened.
Having said, 1,700, Mr. Shamir, is not a magical figure. Even last cabinet decision, gazette notification clearly stipulated 1,350 as the basic wage and another 350 as a allowance, budgetary allowance in the first
incentive,
stage.
Productivity allowance.
First, I'm talking about the month of May gazette.
Yeah, I remember you came on the show in that month and when this issue
and then the RPCs went to the courts and they got an injunction from the Supreme Court. Then again, so it was based on the technicality of the decision. Then again, the government withdrew the gazette notification. Yet again, we had discussions with the regional plantation companies, and we came for another understanding with the regional plantation company that 1,350 plus the productivity incentive, then that amounts to 1,700. Then, having said that,
now, this 1,350 is based on 20 kilograms of teas plant.
Like, see, the norms, what you are referring to the norms. Like, each field has its norm. Like, see, someday in some field they can pluck 18 kilos.
But it's 18 kilos, right? Averagely, in a plucking field, it's 18 kilograms.
It depends, Shamir. It may be 18 kilos, it may be 15 kilos. It depends on the field by field.
Right. So if you pluck, just to understand.
Let's say 20 kilo as a norm.
Yes. If you only pluck 20 kilos, you get 1,350.
1,350 as a basic wage.
Is a basic wage.
Yes.
So anyone who plucks below 20 kilos won't get the 1,350.
No. It all
They are
depends.
getting a 90 rupee per kilo rate.
No. It is not stipulated anywhere that 90 rupees or 50 rupees or anywhere.
Right.
See, Shamin, like we need to understand this 1,700 request was requested by us, not on a, as I told you, on a unfair terms. Like we made.
No, Bharat, that we understand.
Yeah.
Now we know all that. That's okay. I'm just asking you. 1,350 will be granted to an estate worker only if he or she plucks 20 kilograms
as a basic wage.
As 20 kilograms of tea.
Yeah, it depends on the norm.
Yeah,
but not on the norm field by field.
Okay. But averagely, if you look at the numbers, you must be knowing this more than I am, Bharat, because you work with the estate committee very closely. You can only pluck between 15 to 18 kilograms of tea on a particular day. It's a bit of hard work for individuals to pluck more than 18 kilograms of tea. Is that fair enough?
No, Shamir, it depends, Samir. Like it depends on the field by field basis.
Yeah, so let's take an average amount.
Average, you can pluck up to 20 kilos in some fields.
Yeah, in
average.
some fields, average. But let's be honest, Bharat, it's around 18 kilograms because I did my numbers before I came to
now say for an example in JEDB estates in Kandy area, there are fields they can pluck only 15
to 16 kilograms.
15 to 16 kilos. Yeah. So then the management and the estate committee.
So all this means, Bharat, that you all have not won this battle yet.
No, we can't.
You all are showing something to the public that you all have won this 1,700.
No, I beg to differ, Shamir.
You all have not
it
done
is not like that. So it is a wrong interpretation will be there. A person goes for a work on the day for a target of 15 kilos or 16 kilos or 20 kilos, the management and the estate committee will decide on the norm. If the norm is met, he or she will get 1,350 as their basic wage. And there will be a productivity incentive, which is almost in a conclusive stage, whether they are going to cope up with the monthly average or on their overkilo basis. There are a lot of discussions are happening at the moment.
Yeah.
So,
Bharat,
by 26th, we can know on what basis the productivity incentive, productivity allowance will be incorporated
So Bharat,
into the wage.
yeah, so let's leave this 1,700 for the moment aside, and let's talk about what prompted your party to support the candidate of Ranil Wickremesinghe. Is it because Senthil Thondaman is the governor of the Eastern Province? Is it because Jeevan Thondaman is the Minister of Cabinet Minister of Drainage and Upcountry Development? Is that what prompted you all?
See, Shamir, like our General Secretary Jeevan Thondaman being the water supply and Minister of Water Supply and State Infrastructure Development, and our party president being the Eastern Province Governor, that doesn't have any effect on the decision of the party. The upcountry people have clear understanding. President Wickremesinghe has contributed rather just giving vague promises. He had delivered something to the people, especially to the country as a whole, and to the plantation sector community. And also our party members and the high command of our party clearly believe that President Wickremesinghe will have a clear economic and political plan for the country.
So Bharat, if you look at how other members of parliament supported the candidature of Ranil Wickremesinghe, they did a show of hands. If you look at the Mathura district parliamentary committee meeting that was headed by Kanchana Vijayasekara, we saw members putting up their hands. If you look at Shehan Semasingha's Anuradhapura district party committee meeting, which was attended by S.M. Chandrasen as well, there was a show of hands. Why is it that you all didn't have something like that? Wait, I'm not done. Is it the will of the people of the estate community to support Ranil Wickremesinghe, or is it the will of the two Thondamans?
No, Mr.
No, because you said the president is Jeevan Thondaman.
We have nearly 200 delegates for our party national council. So,
but we didn't see any visuals of that.
Pardon?
We didn't see any visuals of
that. So, each party has its own way of displaying visuals and understanding. When our party high command announces our party has unanimously decided to support Wickremesinghe, that is our decision.
So
that
who did you all,
we don't want to show
who did you all support at the 2019 presidential election?
Media gimmicks to show that raising hand.
So what Kanchana did was a media gimmick?
Maybe, yes.
Okay.
They have their own way of showing.
So very quickly before I move to Dr. Kalpa, I just want to understand, Bharat, what is the position of your party relating to privatization?
We strongly believe, Shamir, like even the plantation sector, after 1992, the privatization, yes, there are some problems. Now there are nearly 453 state-owned enterprises. It should be reformed in a way to support the economic system rather than becoming a burden to the economy.
Right. Thank you very much, Bharat Arusami, Vice President of the Ceylon Workers Congress. I now move my attention to Dr. Kalpa Rajapaksa from the People's Struggle Alliance. We have 5 members today, so we want to give equal opportunity to all 5 to express their opinions on the first round, and then we'll switch to the grilling of Niresh and Nadeem momentarily in a bit. Kalpa, People's Struggle Alliance. How many members, how many parties are represented in this People's Struggle Alliance?
3 parties, actually.
3
one
parties.
Is Frontline Socialist Party. The other one is New Democratic Marxist-Leninist Party. The other one is Socialist People's Forum. And we have many individuals who are very active during the Aragale, and also some people actually dedicated their whole lifetime for the activism and political organizing.
So one of the questions that a lot of people ask from the NPP is the fact that who are they? Whether they are the JVP or the NPP. And most often than not, what we hear today on this show and even the shows previously is that the JVP is only an allied party within the NPP, but the NPP as a whole is a different outfit altogether.
Right.
People's Struggle Alliance, are you all the FSP, the Frontline Socialist Party? If that is the case, it's a bit worrisome, isn't it not?
It is not actually. It's an alliance, obviously, but
No, but is the FSP a ruling party of the People's Struggle Alliance?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's a part of it, and we are in a collective discussion.
Right. So when you say part of it, just put down these numbers for me to understand it much better. How many members are there in your People's Struggle Alliance Politburo?
We have an executive committee.
Okay, executive committee, right.
Committee.
How many
so
people are there?
33 members.
So 33 members. So
Yes,
you're trying to say that all these 33 members, it's one-third representation from all?
Not really. No, we have 6 from the FSP, and we have another 6 from Socialist People's Forum, and we have another 6 from the New Democratic Marxist
that's 80.
Party. Yes, and we have the rest of it actually consisted with the activists and all the other people who actually contributed to the alliance.
So when you say activists, who are these activists?
Well, a lot of them actually were very active during the Aragale, and also, as I mentioned before, that some people actually dedicate their whole lifetime to the organizing, political activism, and those things. They also were very interested in joining us.
No, but I thought Niresh Nadeem, up to now the Aragale was the people's movement. But now it seems to me what Dr. Kalpa Rajapaksa is saying, it was 33 members who did all this.
Not really. No, we never claimed the sole authorship or the authority of the Aragale or the people who represented Aragale. We know that it's a very historic struggle, a great uprising of people. We never claimed the sole authorship of representing.
Yeah, but
some people, no, not really. Some people who actually were involved became a part of our alliance. And we learned so many things from Aragale. We were politically influenced.
What did you learn from the Aragale, Kalpa?
Well, so many things. One thing is actually how people can practice direct democracy rather than practicing the representative democracy. For example, when the direct democracy was in practice, Gotabaya Rajapaksa had to run. His government had to run. And that's one thing we learn. And it's not just a learning that we learn for ourselves, but also the political history of Sri Lanka also. I mean, in that also it's a very significant.
So are y'all a left part? Because last time I had Nuwan Bopagi on the show.
Yes.
Just before he announced his candidature to become the presidential candidate of the People's Struggle Alliance, he said that your party was a very far left party which strongly believes in not going to the IMF, not privatizing or selling state assets. Am I right to say that?
It is right to say that.
Or have you also changed your stand like the NPP?
No, we are a socialist party. Now we are a socialist party, and we strongly believe in socialism. And all our policies that we presented here, we do not do our campaign empty-handedly. We do it with policies. Everything that we have written here, we have presented here, actually towards socialism. That is our slogan.
So, Kalpa, are you aware how much you all can spend at the upcoming presidential election?
I think per one person it's like 103 rupees.
109 rupees.
9 rupees.
So you all can spend a staggering 1.87 billion rupees at the upcoming elections. How much of money have you all collected so far?
I can't give you an exact figure because we are not funded by big banks or big corporations, big elitist financial authorities and business.
But I'm sure you have a number in mind.
Sure.
When you're organizing a presidential campaign, you don't come with not having a number in hand?
Well, one thing I can say is actually we are asking money from common people because we want to represent them and nobody else is going to fund us. So people who actually
Why do you think no one else is going to fund you all?
Because we have a very specific class interest.
Yeah,
that's one thing.
So that means that you all are not going to make the top 5 at the next presidential election. You all have already made up your mind.
Absolutely not. I mean, presidential election.
Yeah.
No, we are going to give.
But you said only a certain class are going to support you.
Well,
how much is certain class?
If you look at the numbers, give me a minute. If you look at the
how
numbers
much
of
is
Sri
certain
Lanka,
class? Tell me, will you?
Certain class if
How
I
much
give
is
you a
this
number, if I base my
just basic, let's say
definition,
there are 17 million, 14 million people going for the polling booth this time.
Right.
17 million to be very precise. How much does the People's Struggle Alliance have in numbers?
Well,
like a block vote?
Yes, for example, if I base my explanation on the central bank report, we are addressing the most oppressed people, oppressed number of people, oppressed group of people in this country. If I base my explanation on the central bank report,
So how much is this oppressed people?
80% of this country are oppressed and economically deprived. So our attention, our policies are meant for them. So we strongly believe we can address them, we can win them, and also we are not just...
Kalpa, last time we had Nuwan Bopagi on the show, I asked him, tell me one socialist country in the world that has done well. I'm asking that question from you today, Dr. Kalpa. You are saying that you all are basing your arguments on socialism. I'm asking you now, tell me one example. I'm not going to ask you two, I'm only asking you one example. Tell me one example that socialism has worked in the world.
Well, one example that I can give you is Cuba. Cuba, for example,
has worked very well.
Well, Cuba is doing very well in social indicators. If you are looking at the economic
Have you looked
indicators,
at the numbers? Have you looked at
well,
the numbers?
If you look at, I mean, there are various things that you can look into. For example, if you look at the economic indicators, there are problems.
So are you trying
But
to
if
make
you
Sri
look
Lanka
at-
Cuba?
Absolutely not. I mean, we have
You want
much
us to
more.
be like Cuba, isolated from the world?
Not really.
Then
You
what do
look-
you
if you read the manifesto, you will understand that we have a strong foreign policy, we have a strong economic policy. We are
That's what I'm
not
asking you. Say, I asked you a very simple question, Dr. Kalpa. I said, tell me one example in the world that is socialist and has done well. Then you say Cuba.
right.
Then I'm asking you, are you trying to make Sri Lanka Cuba? Then you are
Absolutely
saying
not.
no.
So
I don't understand.
How
What is
can
this?
you
What
how
is this
can you
argument?
make two countries identical? It is
Yeah,
impossible.
So do you think, in your opinion, Cuba has done well over
Cuba
the
has
years?
done really well in terms of the social indicators. If you look at the most capitalist indicators like the growth rate, yes, there are problems. But if you look at the health sector, if you look at the educational sector,
The health sector, of course, because we know even fighting dengue, Cuba has done extremely well
Absolutely.
as a nation. There is no question about that. But can you compare Cuba with Sri Lanka?
no, I didn't compare the Cuba with Sri Lanka. I just gave you an example to show that there are some things that the socialism can be done.
So you think a country like Sri Lanka can be isolated from the US?
No, I didn't say that.
Then
What I meant is basically we have a foreign policy which is actually addressing the global southern countries, having a good relationship with them.
like which countries?
For example, indebted countries in Sri Lanka, Kenya, for example. Once again, Cuba comes into the picture. Also, we can have good trade relationship with China. China is of course not in the global south, but also they are in our interest.
So you're saying Kenya is going to help Sri Lanka
Not really.
if you all come into power. You're saying Cuba is going to help Sri Lanka if you all come into power.
Well, we can make coalitions, right? The coalitions.
How are we going to get the help of Kenya?
Well,
You want to bring coal down from Kenya?
not
is that
really.
it?
No.
Then what?
That's not. For example, if you look at the
No, please explain to us because we want to know what the policies are.
Yeah, if you want to start new trade relationship, we can do that with Kenya, and also
So, like example, what are you planning to
Well,
import export? From
one
Kenya?
thing I want to emphasize is
Yeah.
one thing that we do in the emphasize in the manifesto is actually the
No, Kenya. Take an example. Kenya. What are you trying to import export to Kenya?
Well,
and what is the number?
Let's forget about the import exports, but debt restructuring, for an example, Kenya also facing the same situation like Sri Lanka. So we can make coalition with Kenya and have the technical
So
support.
you
and
want
also
you want Sri Lanka to be like Kenya?
Absolutely not. You are putting words in my mouth.
No, I'm not. I'm just trying to figure
Absolutely.
out. No, I'm trying to figure out what do you all want. What do you all want for Sri Lanka? Now, like when you speak to someone and you ask them, what do you want Sri Lanka to become like in the next 5 years? And I'm asking you the same question. You're saying Kenya. You're saying Cuba. You're saying two countries that have not done well. Is that the benchmark for you?
Not really.
Then-
No, we learn, well, two separate
Not for
things.
you, but for your party.
Sure, two separate things I want to emphasize once again. We will have relationship with them for different things. For example, with Kenya, we have the for the debt restructuring, we have relationships with them. But we are not arguing that Sri Lanka should be like Kenya or like in other countries.
Okay.
But we have very strong policies to show that what are the growth process of Sri Lanka and how the debt should be restructured, how we should get rid of IMF. They are the austerity measures that they have implemented. So we have a proper plan to do that.
So, looking at Kenya very quickly, because you spoke about Kenya, Dr. Kalpa, because of technology is so easy now, it's on your fingertips. The Kenyan GDP stands at 113.4 billion. And out of this, there is a GDP growth rate of 4.8%, and the country is doing extremely well in terms of their national parks, in terms of foreign reserves, and even for that matter, their garment industry as well. What do we have?
Well,
when you want to restructure Sri Lanka's debt, you have to have a plan.
Yes, we have a plan.
What is that plan?
We have a plan.
Yeah, how?
So
let's put numbers into perspective, will you, Kalpa, very quickly, because before I move to Nadeem and Niresh, you have $8 billion to service as debt. How do you do that?
Well, I mean,
right now, if you don't go to the IMF, this year we have to service our debt up to $8 billion a year.
Right. The very first thing we are going to do, give me a minute, okay?
Yeah.
Very first thing we are going to do.
No problem, you can have your time, yes.
Very first thing we are going to do is actually increase the implementing the tax policy properly, because if you look at the numbers, more than 900 billion rupees of tax were actually given as subsidies for the rich people. So we are going to actually implement a strong tax policy to ensure a strong fiscal policy. That's the very first thing. And also, if you look at the defaulted debts from the elitist business people, there's a huge number, 1.8 trillion rupees. And also that will increase the government revenue. That's the very first thing. So there will be a proper disciplined budget in the fiscal policy. And the next thing we are going to do is we are going to appoint a committee from the international support. For example, the Committee for Abolition of Illegitimate Debt. We are in contact with them, and they will restructure, they will look at our debt. I'll explain it in detail maybe in the next time. And if you do that, there are odious debt in our debt mountain. There are illegitimate debt in our debt mountain. There are vulture funds. There are vulture debts in our debt mountain. Right. So the restructuring must be done. We do not rely upon the IMF numbers and also the numbers by the central bank.
Right. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot to Dr. Kalpa Rajapaksa, People's Struggle Alliance. Very quickly to Niresh and Nadeem, we have 5 today, so we have to be able to balance it out for the two of you. Let's start off with Niresh.
Chris, the SLPP is a major party. From 2016, it has been.
Yes.
But I'm a little confused about its strategy. You spoke a lot about the Mahinda Rajapaksa brand.
Mahinda Chintane.
Yes.
From 2005
yes,
to
but you, in your opening remarks, you mentioned Mahinda Rajapaksa many times. And yes, he's a very strong brand.
Mahinda Chintane.
But now this time, it's not Mahinda Rajapaksa who is running for president.
Yes.
You have a candidate. So why isn't that candidate standing on his own 2 feet rather than depending? Because we saw this in the last election as well, and it turned out to be a disaster. So this time, shouldn't your candidate, even if he doesn't win this time, shouldn't he be standing on his own 2 feet for the future?
No, what I think you misinterpreted what I said there, because what I mentioned was that the SLPP is based on the Mahinda Chintane. Okay? And Mahinda Chintane is what we brought in from 2005 to 2015. Then came the vistas of prosperity from 2019 up to what it stopped at. But the Mahinda Chintane is what took this country forward from where things were. The Mahinda Chintane was
interesting, because when you talk about the 2005 to 15 period and you talk about taking this country forward, I mean, there are plenty of other communities who will also speak to their own grievances. But for our community, as journalists, it's not a very good time.
Nadim,
You know, people are being murdered, people are being
Oh, absolutely.
disappeared.
Yeah.
Even for activists, I'm sure even Kalpa will tell you, like, I believe Lalit and Kugan, from them, no one knows what happened to them, where are they, where did they
And
go?
also now a 2005
not a very-
strategy in
like,
2024.
When you talk about it in such flowery language, it seems to be that you're portraying a false image to the
you're
public.
trying to portray something minute, which could have been, which it was tried and tested. But I'm trying to portray something which the country has, even up to date, has to, you can see it to your eyes. Okay,
This is construction, public construction fueled growth.
Power and energy.
The North plant.
No, so how many other projects were brought in, Nadim? How many
Let's
projects
talk
were
about the
brought
biggest
in?
one, the North
How
plant.
many
That's the biggest
projects?
power and energy investment that came in that 2005 to 15
Boragahatana
period.
plant. Okay.
Morugahakanda, okay.
Okay. Then what about the Umayo project? I can continue like this. Then
Chris, I'll go into the problems with each of those projects. We need a different fascination.
The development that this thing. Nadim,
We'll need another fascination program to focus
back in the day,
purely
Nadim,
on the problems
Don't
with
you
those
think
projects.
the 2005 strategy is outdated in
what I'm trying to say
2024?
is that it's all based on the Mahinda Chintane. We've not gone away from the Mahinda Chintane. And our candidate has some fantastic policies, which, you know, I can't elaborate at the moment until my candidate comes out with it, which will happen in the due course. But I can openly tell you something that even today was mentioned at the meeting, is that this country will not be divided, and the police, the law of the land will be one.
So, Chris,
the country won't be divided.
In your opening remarks, you also spoke about, you know, the damage caused to the country during the Bhishane, during the period of terror by the JVP in that 88-89 period, and the previous insurrection as well. We saw a couple of years back, and I think once again recently as well, the JVP leader Anukumara Dissanayake has actually issued an apology to the country for the violence that the JVP was involved in during that time. Do you think? Let me ask the question.
Did he make that apology in our local soil? Was that made in?
It was on the JVP single. Can I finish the question?
Yeah.
Can I finish the question? Do you think that since you speak of the Mahinda Chintana, do you think that the Rajapaksa administration, the UPFA and then the SLP, which is now the SLPP, do you think that journalists, activists, people in civil society who have faced not just criticism but have faced violence, fatal violence, deserve an apology?
Well,
if you're saying that the JVP was responsible for the terror, do you feel that people would?
If there was any conviction, then I think there should be an apology be given. But saying that, tell me where there was a conviction made. There was a reconciliation period.
It's difficult to have a conviction when you disappear the witnesses.
There was a period where could have been you could have brought in a conviction when it's in from 2015 till 2019.
But that's the allegation against the current president as well. Is that
was made, Nadim,
but
was not
the
provable.
allegation against the current president as well is based on, from many quarters of society, the allegation against the current president as well is that during that 2015 to 19 period and in the post-Aragalia period, he has been protecting figures that are facing these allegations.
He was not
right?
only one. There were other parties also. Other parties who had the files, those 400 files that the president.
On that note, actually, Professor Anil Jayant, I want to come to you now. The JVP has been talking about these files for a long time that you all have. In fact, a couple years back at the Sri Lanka Foundation Institute, you all put all these files on a coffee table, stacked high, piled high, and you all said that you all were going to take a lot of action. I asked the question at that time as well, are you all going to digitize any of this? Is it going to be made public domain? Because, I mean, it's 21st century, right? You can't be photocopying A4 papers. To date, we're yet to see any action being taken by you all on files that you all claim to have. Because it seems that everything is just an exhibition, a pradarshana. You had like, it was like the launch of a coffee table book. You all had like stacked high, 30, 60 centimeters high, and then nothing.
And where are those files?
Where are those
physically?
No, so yes,
You all still have it, right?
yeah, we have it. Like, this is not just having files. Like, I'm just telling you, when it comes to these prosecutions, so there are different ways. And as far as these the criminal, the cases, even in the financial or the defrauding of funds, it is not simple, the frauds, the financial crimes. So they come under the category of crimes. So the prosecutions are required to go through the legal process really headed by the Attorney General and all. So, I mean...
So are you saying that the law enforcement agencies are corrupt? And that's why it's not happening?
Corrupt, or in a way that is influenced. This is how the things happen. It is not...
But
like
for all of those case files that you all had, have you all filed complaints with the relative enforcement?
Yeah, many cases we have already just made complaints.
But if they have not resulted not resulted in convictions,
Yeah.
or at least at the very least,
Some
if they have not
cases,
resulted in
yeah,
indictments, then that means that the veracity of the evidence that you all had in those files was insufficient, or you're alleging that the law enforcement authorities are corrupt.
That is one reason. So they're alleging that the law enforcement has just weaknesses, or the evidences are weak. So that is only one, like, so if somebody can just claim like this. Actually, most of the cases which were withdrawn were due to technical, the defects of the filing of cases, because within this corrupt network, so any kind of thing can happen. You may make a small mistake and let it go.
So in which case, Professor Anijant, don't you think that this is why you should make this information public, so that the public can see what's in these files?
And also, Professor,
some of the things.
So it's been like almost 2 years now. Why haven't you digitized it and made it public?
So Vasanta Samarasinghe has just gone to court, and we have just made some attempts also. Some of the things are just revealed, even this.
But Professor Anijant, this the issue that I have is the NPP talks a big game about transparency and accountability, but we're asking you to be transparent about this information that you all say that
of
you
course,
have.
some of the information,
but you all are not being transparent about that.
It is not being transparent, because we need to be aware of certain things in the corrupt system. So just think of whether there are any protection for the whistleblowers. So there are many whistleblowers within this information. We need to protect them as well. And likewise, so everyone has to accept the fact that the weaknesses in our system, so everything would come the right time for sure. It does not mean that it's a showing off of certain things. So some of the cases, sometimes we can go ahead with the fundamental, the right violation. There are many cases where there are crimes and the lots of not only the general
Professor,
crimes.
there's still in what you've said, there still isn't an answer to the question: why isn't this public? If you all have already tried,
so it doesn't mean that we have just kept everything in secret. Out of these files, so these the sugar scam, even bonds. So there are so many things. Even the transfer of check from one of the Chinese company. So like even the money transfer to one of the wives of Sri Lankan airline, Chandrasena. So there are information. So there are. So
but that information was made public by the Serious Fraud Office and the Department of Justice in the US and the UK.
That is true. With respect to
that's not a file that you all came up with.
No. It doesn't mean that we are. So it does not mean that this is a complete file of everything. So we have certain evidences, information. So it doesn't mean that we have to just throw them away without.
No, I'm not asking you to throw it away.
You refer to the corrupt system, which has shielded these individuals.
Yes.
But should your party come to office?
Definitely.
But you're
still
going to rely on that same.
No, definitely. Just wait. Like so, I just gave you a very strong argument that. With this particular situation, so it is not going to be successful. It would be really in vain. That's the reason. With all these evidences that we have, so at different stages, definitely under our government, we'll take the legal actions. All these things are within the given legal framework for sure. Then you can question.
Bharat, if you don't mind, Hamid, Bharat, I actually want to ask it because we spoke about this 1,700 rupee. Daily wage issue, right? And it's actually quite funny if you think about it. If in a competitive economy, in a global competitive economy, if you're running an industry that can't afford to pay a living wage, can you afford to call yourself an industry? is a very valid question.
Yes, sir.
But in that context, now these issues that the Ceylon Workers' Congress and other activists from the representing the rights of plantation workers over the years have been fighting for, there has been very little progress. I think we can agree with that. Because if you look at from the times of empire, the millions of people, the hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of people taken to all corners of the empire under indentured servitude. If you look at communities who were taken to work on plantations in the Caribbean, for example, they have made a lot more advances socially and economically than the community in Sri Lanka. Do you feel that y'all are, when it comes to alliances with the major parties, that y'all are giving away too much for too little?
Actually, it's a...
Whether it's Ranil Wickremesinghe or Mahinda
it's a very
Rajapaksa.
important question. See, this 1,700 rupees, our request, is a very temporary request or between the transition period from the regimental method of work to a productive method work. So what we are looking at is to introduce a T-partner model where from the worker to consumer will be partners of this industry. As you correctly pointed out, this tea industry is 170-year-old industry. But however, incorporating modern technologies or adopting new ideologies is really very much minimal. So there are, even though there are 1 million population residing in the estate sector, only very little people are engaging directly to the plantation industry, like nearly 100,000 people. So this 1,700 rupees request which we made, like normally every 2 years there will be a wage hike. So unfortunately, due to the pandemic and the economic crisis, we were not able to discuss any wage hike with the employers. However, before going into a productive based model, it is essential for us to, to have a basic wage increment which will be accepted by both parties.
That's fine. What I'm asking is my question specifically is when you look at the progress or lack of progress, let's say, that we've seen in the sector over, we started with the step backwards with the Citizenship Act in 1948, right? Since that time, I think that was only resolved as recently as 2003.
2002, yeah.
Right. The last this one. So since that time, you can see that this has been a very, not just a marginalized, but a neglected community by successive governments. But at the same time, the CWC has been in alliance and in government on multiple occasions, for the most part. Do you feel that you all have been deceived by your major alliance partners? And is there a need for you to really reevaluate where your priorities are?
Exactly. We totally agree with that. Because, from 1948 to today, many policy decisions which were taken by the leaders of the country, we had to go through some deception as well. That is what we are clearly having an understanding with the current president to, number one, is to integrate the community into the national mainstream is one of our major priority. That is what, earlier, the health sector and the education sector, both of them are, health sector especially, was, carried out with the estate management. Now it is covered under a separate unit under the health ministry like plantation health.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I need to ask a couple of questions for both Kalpan and Disney, so I would ask them. So quickly, just to wrap up. So you have now requested certain commitments from President Ranil Wickremesinghe as well. Now, many people in the political sphere, including activists in civil society as well, will say from their experience and their interaction with President Ranil Wickremesinghe that he is a great deceiver himself.
No,
Do you all feel that you all are misplacing your
I
trust?
don't agree on that because, I don't know about others, but in the recent past, we made 3 important requests from the president. One is to grant 10 purchase of land for our people, which is already approved, and it is on the process of we are building houses, and also resume all the development works. Yeah, he allocated 4 billion rupees for infrastructure and land deeds for our people, and also integrating our community into the national mainstream. They took a cabinet decision, and we are working on that. And on 30th of this month,
Yeah.
we are signing an MOU. Our party is signing an MOU with President Wickremesinghe, pointing out major understanding with
Just before we move on, I'd just like to point out that there are many people who, over the decades, there are many people who have had MOUs with Mr.
No,
Lanka.
it is like this,
can I
no,
ask you,
brother. It is very different from other parties and our party. CWC is a different party where we make sure the leaders stick on the promises they made.
So what's the promise when you all were elected to power in 2019 from the SLPP ticket?
Pardon?
What was the promise made to the public when you all were elected from the SLPP ticket in 2019 general election?
Yeah,
Even Thunderman topped the Newry district preferential votes.
Yes.
So he was elected through the SLPP, right?
Exactly, yes.
But now where is he?
Now we are supporting the president.
So not no more with the SLPP.
That we had made the decision in 2022 itself, that we are no more working with SLPP and the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
But you all were elected through the SLPP ticket.
So we were in an alliance with the SLPP. We were not members of SLPP.
So
we were an alliance.
So what happens if the same fate befalls the SLPP members like Jeevan Thunderman, the people who were elected through the list from the preferential voting list of the SLPP? What if the same fate befalls of Manusha Nanaikar and Harin Fernando?
See, they were, to my understanding, they were members of SJB, I guess. But we are a coalition party which signed an MOU with
So you all have
SLPP.
not taken membership of the SLPP?
No, we are not. We are a separate independent party, you know. We are in a coalition with them.
Right.
We are not members.
Can Ranil Wickremesinghe win without the support of the CWC?
Our support will be further strengthen his victory.
But without the CWC, would he win?
There is a chance where our contribution will ensure his victory, and also.
But in that sense, don't you feel that the CWC is not asking for enough? That it has been deceived, which is what Nadeem was getting to?
Our population, Mr. Naresh, nearly 1.5 million upcountry Indian origin Tamil community living in Sri Lanka. So nearly we are talking about nearly 1 million voting power. And I strongly believe the decision of our Indian origin Tamil community is towards President Wickremesinghe, because comparing with other candidates, we strongly believe, and our community strongly believe, that President Wickremesinghe has made enough attempts
Who did you all support? Who did you all support in the 2015 presidential election? Maithripala Sirisena or Mahinda Rajapaksa?
A party supported Mahinda Rajapaksa.
But you know that Newry district, Maithripala Sirisena was topping the votes in the Newry district.
Yeah, at that time that was political trend.
So as to the question that Nilesh asked, can Ranil Wickremesinghe win with or without the support of the CWC? It really doesn't matter, is it?
No, this in the plantation sector, Mr. Naresh, as you take as a whole, it is essential.
Because 2015, when you all supported Mahinda Rajapaksa, you all lost the Newry district.
No, that's what I'm.
So this time elections, so when if you all support Ranil Wickremesinghe or not, it's going to go the other way.
No, it won't go other way, because
now you all have changed.
No. let me finish.
Yeah.
See, why we took some time to decide is that we were discussing with many stakeholders, not only the plantation sector workers, but also the educated communities, traders, business leaders, many people, and we took a collective decision to support President Ranil Wickremesinghe. So I strongly believe, with the support of the community and with our party, his victory will be ensured.
Professor Anil Jayanta, what is it different when it comes to the NPP and the People's Struggle Alliance in terms of policies? Now, are you all also going to the IMF?
It's like this. Actually, IMF is an international organization. Everyone knows that. So we are a member. So going to IMF may mean different things. I do not know what you mean by going to IMF.
No, so are you all going to engage with the IMF with regard to the debt restructuring of the country?
We are not going to engage with IMF, but already engage.
Right.
So therefore, there is no escape. We need to convert So the convert that into a kind of a situation where we need to go for the proper debt restructuring. Actually, so out
what
of this,
do you mean a proper debt restructuring?
I'll just cite a historical example, right? We saw in Greece after the collapse of Greece, the Sirasa party came in on the same premise that they were going to renegotiate the debt agreements that they had reached with the IMF, with the ECB, etc. And by the end of their period, they didn't manage to renegotiate much.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And all that accomplished was that it stalled the program.
Okay. So what do you just...
So what I'm saying is there is historical evidence
that is one historical
work.
No, it doesn't mean that is the only historical work.
Greece, but when Europe was trying to prop it up.
Let me explain. So that is your explanation with the information that we have. So there are many cases where it really depends on how best you negotiate. So just answering to your question, proper debt restructuring. Actually, this debt restructuring has been really misinterpreted. So debt issue is only with the external debt. So unfortunately, what had happened, like it was really brought down to domestic debt optimization. So we have ordinary people of the country is paying. So actually, debt restructuring should be discussed with the external. So proper in the sense, the most of the cases why it has ended up with in such a manner favoring the creditors because of the negotiation process. So as of now, I'm just telling, just give me what the proper. So in the negotiation process, if our negotiators are aligned with the creditors, it is more likely that we would be in really debt trap. If you just go to these the macro-linked bonds, just go and check and analyze. So new bonds proposed by them. So still even IMF has not.
So you're saying you all have to restructure the debt, or are you saying that
we can't restructure?
That has been already agreed upon.
Just give me a minute, otherwise I can't explain it. So this restructuring, they have come out with the complicated bond structure and with the interest rate as high as 9.75. What I am going to tell you, unless the Sri Lankan government or the delegation does not take a very strong stance of negotiating, we would end up with a debt trap. So that is the reason why...
Are you saying you are going to renegotiate?
Yeah, we need to renegotiate in different, because already we had pre-discussion with IMF and some the bondholders as well. So what they wanted us, so you come out with your own proper plan. So we have a plan. Already we have done an alternative debt sustainability analysis, because we must be able to prove them and show them that how best it could be settled in the future.
So now recently at a meeting,
will you all scrap the macro-linked bonds?
Sorry?
Are you all going to scrap the macro-linked bonds?
It doesn't mean that we are going to scrap, because we need to negotiate. We need to ask. Just go and check how they have set their cap and flow. So cap has been set in such a manner easily we can reach with the present level of GDP. GDP can reach to 96 billion. So automatically we would be trapped. So that is what we must be able to show them, that our country's economy has been contracted purposely. So in fact, by 2028, we would reach to an economic development that we had in 2018. So 10 years is gone. So we have to just, negotiate with facts and information. We will do that.
Professor Anil,
outcome we'll see.
So, Professor, let's look at the numbers now.
Yeah.
Now, the pay tax, what Sri Lanka gains at the moment is 140 billion.
Right.
At this point of time.
Right.
So now, recently I saw Chaturanga from your party has said that you all are going to expand these numbers, expand the tax threshold, whereas people who pay the 36% will come at a certain different slabs at the moment. So I don't understand what your party is trying to do.
All right.
Are you all saying that you are going to bring down the pay tax, or are you all saying that this has to change?
So it's like this. So our overall policy would increase the tax revenue, but as far as the ordinary people are concerned, so the pay, this present threshold that is for 1 year is 1.2 million, that would be increased to 2.4 million, that is per month 200,000. But so our tax...
what is the loss of revenue there?
So it's roughly around 59 billion, so we have rough calculation.
Rupees.
Okay.
59 billion rupees. So how are you all going to compensate
So
that
already,
59 billion?
just already, quickly we can collect out of the tax defaults pending, so amounting to 1.1 trillion, that is 1,100 billion, of which cases have been finalized for taxes amounting to 160 billion.
So Anuradha,
so
what
that
are
is
all,
there.
what
If we
is
can
the plan,
collect it,
what is
so
the
that
plan
is there.
of the SJB with regard to the pay tax? Because we know this
I think
is something...
I should add something, the
Yeah.
pay tax, otherwise just confusing idea, right? That is one area of the pay tax is the threshold. There are two other things. One is the tax bracket and the rates. Our rates are not progressive. These brackets have been really skewed in such a manner to get more money from the lower end. So that is unfair because the taxation fairness is number one.
Right.
So we have
You also have gone to court.
Huh?
You also have gone because at the end of the day, when you have taxes,
Yeah.
it has to be taxed based on equality.
Not-
You also have gone to courts, no?
No,
Professor?
so not equal.
You all don't go to courts, no?
No, so
You all
just
have the
see,
file,
just see,
but
no,
you all
not
don't go to
equal.
court.
That tax should be, no, I'll come to that file cases even like, if you do not give me the time, I can't explain.
right.
The tax should be collected in a fair manner. So if you earn more, you need to collect more, less. So this has been violated. That is the reason why.
So, but you also have gone to courts on that because
No, so-
equality has to
for
prevail.
courts on the sense
Waiting
like
for power.
if possible, that is possible. So as far as the pay tax is concerned, we can revise it. Even in the file, the latest example that I'll show you,
Yeah.
recently the government was trying to, the Ranil Wickremesinghe was trying to transfer a particular land to Kabir Hasim. So through this JEDB,
State
JEDB.
Development Board.
DEB. What happened? So maybe due to some other reason, the Kabir Hasim may not have crossed, but our people, like our whistleblowers, were able to get the documents out of 4 documents.
Anurag, is it true?
So I'm just telling. So we have them.
I don't know,
Yeah, so it doesn't know, but I'm just challenging.
allegations,
It's okay. If it
they
is
talk a
lie,
big
you can
game,
take
but,
action. Now
nothing
we have
really
these
comes out of it.
2 last documents, but
Except
we could not get the
Deepabaranta
first 2
Karla
documents.
Pennanna.
So therefore, if we just go to the court with the last 2 documents, now we can't file a case. Now, so those who have provided the information for us would be at risk.
Professor Anil, because
That is
we
why we
cannot...
made a special press also on this.
Professor Anil, we should be respectful because Kabir Hashim is not on the show tonight.
Yeah, that is true.
And he does
Already
not have,
no worries because this
have
has
an opportunity
been
to
revealed.
respond. Let's
I'm
leave
just
that
quoting.
case aside
I'm
because
quoting
even
from the
Anuradha
press.
was not...
Yeah,
but Anuradha was also not privy
Sure,
to the
sure.
information
Yeah,
that we're
I
talking
understand,
about.
please.
So, Anuradha, with regard to pay tax, because this is something that is affecting the lower or the higher middle income people of Sri Lanka. And we saw the manner in which how Ranil Wickremesinghe as the president had said already that the threshold will be expanded from 500,000 to 720,000. What is the plan of the SJB in respect of the pay tax?
When it comes to the pay taxes, I think we need to change our whole tax structure, right? And we need to basically
We understand that.
Yeah.
But what is the plan? Do you all have a plan or you all don't have a plan?
Well, actually,
Or your plan is the NPP plan?
No. Well, does the NPP really have a plan? Because
Yes, we have.
from what we hear, but
Yeah, that
people
is
keep
right.
saying that
Okay.
NPP actually stands for no plan and no policy,
Oh,
right?
you will see this thing on 26. We will launch.
NPP, right? No, but nobody really knows
Yeah,
what
yeah,
the
so,
NPP
yeah,
plan
yeah.
is, right? Because
No, but what is your
Yeah,
plan?
so,
Tell me,
yeah,
will you, right?
okay.
What is the plan?
yeah,
of the
our plan is
SJB?
actually to widen the tax net, because there are so many people that actually does not pay taxes. We need to bring those people in.
How are you going to do that?
Well, we need to get our tax departments, the revenue departments working.
So you're relying on Inland Revenue Department, which we all know is one of the most corrupt departments in the country. And this is like what I told Professor Anil. He's going to rely on the police to prosecute with all those files that they have. They are relying on departments which you all know will not perform.
No, but we will actually have to, go behind them, like that.
So
that's
that is something
that's
every
why
government says.
So
Every party in every government says this.
So now let's put into perspective now, let's say there is a three-wheel driver who earns more than 100,000 rupees in the country at the moment. How do you all intend to take him to the tax bracket?
This is the thing, Shamil. Before we go after the three-wheel drivers.
No, but now you all say
how many businesses are there in this country? Registered businesses
that
are
actually you have to widen the tax
taxes.
net. That's what I'm asking this question. Now you're saying you have to widen the tax net. So when you say widen the tax net, that means you have to get ample people registering with the tax in the country.
Yeah.
So how do you all intend to get the ordinary three-wheel driver to pay his taxes from the doctor to the lawyer?
Well, as I was saying, before we go after the three-wheel drivers and, doctors and lawyers, doctors we can get, but lawyers very hard to get. But
what is the plan? Now, you can say that now you're coming on the show tonight and you're saying doctors easy to get, lawyers difficult to get. What does that mean?
Well, doctors actually get paid on the books.
Yeah,
right?
but
lawyers get a lot of cash.
Yeah,
money,
but how
right?
do you intend to net those people? How do you all intend to do that? That's what my question is.
Well, we have to come up with a plan.
So what's
for that.
the plan? You all don't have the plan yet.
Well, I am.
They have to come up with a plan.
No. Like, see, I am not the one who is handling the financial side of our party.
But so now you're like the NPP. No plan.
No. Our party has a plan. If you want, I will forward it to you.
All the fairness to Anuradha.
You know the SLPP plan.
Let me tell you what.
Is this one plan?
No. This is because I think both these parties have no clue on how they're going to recover it. But one thing that we
no, but I thought you knew the SLPP plan.
Well,
because you were one time a UNP.
I think I know the most practical
plan. 2011, you came from the NPP, from UNP.
I think I know the most practical plan. Now, you said that the front runners are here. SJB is here, NPP is here, but the SLPP, as you all condemned us. I think we have a proper
plan. What's the plan? Tell us.
See, the problem here is...
Tell me the plan. Don't say anything else.
Basic. I'll give you a basic example. You hail a taxi. What do they ask you? Sir, cash the card. If we say cash only, the driver comes in. The main initiative that we should do to bring in a proper taxation system is to go cashless. Digitizing the taxes. So now this is what Namal Rajapaksa did as a digital minister. He was working on these platforms and getting these things to digitize the National Health Network, to digitize the student university networks, because there are some people in campuses who are
so taxis, let's say we buy your argument, then what about the Mudalalis?
Cashless.
So they're all supposed to do cashless?
You go cashless. You make how did India transform? You saw the
how are you going to get one of our taxi drivers? I mean, you hail the taxi, you call him.
It's a simple QR system now. Sri Lanka already has a system. We have a fully integrated. I think I can reach the integrated system because Lanka integrates all the banks. Lanka pays one system that we have fully integrated, which will result in...
You can't ban cash. You can't ban cash.
You give a unique ID to each individual.
No, but it's up to the taxi driver.
Digitize the national ID card.
The question is not the existence of these platforms are there. There are mobile service providers who have their own platforms as well. The issue is how are you going to mandate? How are you going to make it mandatory for people to use that?
You digitize the national ID card. With digitization of the national NIC, that gives you the unique QR code.
People have been talking about the ENIC. So Chris, this brings me back to even in the 2010-15 period when the Mahinda Chintana period that you were talking about, we're talking about this digitization as well.
We've already started.
And nothing happened at that time.
It was initiated. It's just that
so if you couldn't do it
transition period, it's already there. It's just a platform that had to be taken forward. That needs to be furnished. So that will be completed by us because the master brains behind this. There are two parties here who could not answer this simple question. And I just said on one of our policy statements, I can't divulge more information as to how it's happening because
I must
we have
Chris, at least he knows that plan is existing.
Yeah,
but
but
the
not
SLPP does
not really a plan that that will work like that soon, right? Because we are not that not at that point of
You can't say that
going
when there was
cashless.
when there was
what
a
I'm
fuel
saying is
crisis, we bought
something that
when
you
there was a
can
fuel
do
crisis,
is there are so
we
many
bought the QR
registered
code.
companies in this country that are not paying
No,
taxes.
but Anuradha, to be fair with Chris, when the QR system was introduced in Sri Lanka for the fuel system, many said this is the ideal platform to digitize the country's economy. And respective governments have failed to do that. So you can use it as a cue and start doing it, not overnight, but on a mechanism to digitize the country's economy, and that would help with regard to the taxation. Have you thought about it?
But with things like fuel, maybe you can, right? But has that technology gone throughout the country? Can you really say that our people will be able to manage
already
that?
the sectors that have got there is funding for this, which that's one reason as the SLPP we have to back off from supporting Ranil Wickremesinghe, given this thing, because there's millions of dollars of funding that has come into the country, and the relevant government organizations for digitization of health, they are not capable of it.
Kalpa, now,
so if the capacity is not there in this
capacity
public
is
service
there.
itself,
It's just that there's
so you're saying the digitization not happening because of a lack of political will?
Yeah, exactly.
One missing point here. So we are arguing on how
And
best
then
we collect
you can't-
taxation.
you can't-
Simply ignoring the economy, because tax revenue is not really a revenue. It is a shifting of income from the national economy. National economy is being contracted. So if such a contracted situation, even we come out with 101 plans, we need to collect from the given basket. So it can be done in a fair manner. So that is what we said. So there are so many leakages, we need to take them.
But then
Kalpa,
just
in
one
the
thing.
longer run, it has to be expanded for sure.
So, Kalpa, I just want to ask you a question. You spoke about Cuba.
Yeah.
Do you know the state of the economy as far as Cuba is concerned? Because if you look at it, in 2011, China forgave $6 billion in debt owed to Cuba. China didn't do that with Sri Lanka. Russia forgave $34 billion US dollars. They didn't do that with Sri Lanka. Paris Club forgave 11.1 billion debt to Cuba. They didn't do that with Sri Lanka. So, and the Cuban economy contracted by 11% last year, and you want to make Sri Lanka Cuba.
No, once again, you're trying the same thing, same strategy. I didn't say that Sri Lanka should be like Cuba.